The great filter. The unbearable boredom of the first $100,000. Everyone talks about the magic of compounding, but nobody talks about the years of quiet despair. The years you spend staring at a number that refuses to move. This isn't a motivational video. This is a warning, because the truth is, compounding isn't a strategy, it's a filter. And the first $100,000 is the most brutal part of that filter, where 99% of people get washed out. It's where the world decides if you are worthy of what's to come. Today, we're not talking about how to get rich. We're talking about the silent virtues you must possess just to survive the first decade. We will reveal the brutal math that Charlie Munger believed was a test of character, and we'll show you why your first $100,000 is not a financial milestone. It is a psychological crucible, a secret trial that determines if you have what it takes to win the biggest game of all. 1. The invisible wall, the brutal math of the first decade. Let's look at the numbers. If you save and invest $10,000 a year at a 10% average annual return, after 5 years, you have around $65,000. In another 5 years, you might hit $160,000. What's the problem with this? The problem is the psychology of it. For a full decade, the growth feels painfully slow. Your contributions, your sweat and discipline are doing all the work. The magic of compounding is still in a dormant state. This is the invisible wall that stops most people. They look at their account balance and they see that the interest earned is a tiny fraction of what they have personally put in. It feels like a punishment. It feels like the system is broken. So they quit. They pull their money out to live a little. They give in to the tyranny of the immediate. They trade boring discipline for the illusion of action. They don't understand that they have just failed the most important test of all. This isn't just about money. It's about a deep biological impatience. So, if the numbers are rigged against your human nature, what mental models did Munger use to endure this agony? 2. The wisdom of a second-class investor. The art of knowing what you don't know. Munger often said that he and Buffett were not brilliant. They were merely rational. He said, "It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid, instead of trying to be very intelligent." The agony of the first $100,000 is where you learn this lesson firsthand. In those early years, you are not a genius. You are a second-class investor, full of doubt and uncertainty. This is a gift. The despair and the slow growth force you to become brutally honest about your own limitations. You realize you don't have a special insight or a shortcut. You realize that your only advantage is patience. The moment you accept that you are not a genius, that you are just a disciplined, humble person, is the moment you start winning. The greatest investors aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who know what they don't know, and they use that knowledge as a shield against their own stupidity. So, if the game feels so unnatural, what is the unbreakable law you must align yourself with? 3. The latticework of sanity, your shield against the madness. The agony of the first $100,000 is a profound psychological challenge. Your brain is begging you to act, to do something, to trade, to quit. This is where Munger's famous latticework of knowledge becomes not just a tool for business, but a shield for your sanity. Your knowledge of history tells you that every great fortune was built slowly, with discipline. Your knowledge of biology tells you that your brain is wired for short-term gain, and you must fight against that instinct. Your knowledge of psychology tells you that social comparison is a trap. The person who quits is the person who is a victim of their own single discipline thinking. They only see the problem through a financial lens, which makes it feel like an urgent failure. But the person with a latticework can see that this is a test of character, a historical pattern, and a biological hurdle to overcome. They can see the full picture. The latticework of sanity allows you to look at the flat line and see not a failure, but a predictable, necessary stage of the journey. This sounds like a philosophical fight, but what's the one physical, universal law that proves this will work? 4. The one unbreakable law, compounding as a force of nature. You've been taught to think of compounding as a financial theory, but that's the wrong way to look at it. Compounding is not an idea. It's a law of nature. It is as real and as predictable as gravity. Just as an apple will always fall and a seed will always grow into a tree, the consistent accumulation of capital, reinvested over a long period, will inevitably lead to exponential growth. The problem is that you can't feel gravity or watch a seed grow in real time. You just have to trust the process. This is the ultimate test of faith. Do you trust a fundamental law of nature, or do you trust your own impatience and the fleeting emotions of the crowd? The people who fail are the ones who try to defy this law. They try to get rich in a straight line, but wealth is a curve. They want a shortcut, but a shortcut is a violation of the law. Your success is not a result of your genius. It is a result of your obedience to this fundamental law of the universe. So, if it's a law of nature, why do so many people feel like it's working against them? 5. The unjust reward. Why compounding feels wrong. The great paradox of compounding is that it feels completely wrong. It is a system of unjust rewards. For the first 10 to 15 years, you feel like you are doing all the work, but getting none of the reward. The financial markets are giving you a tiny, almost insulting return. The feeling of injustice is a feature, not a bug. This feeling of unfairness is the filter in action. It's designed to weed out the people who need an immediate, proportional reward. The person who survives this feeling of injustice is the person who understands that they are not being punished. They are simply in the logarithmic stage of the process. They know that the market owes them nothing and that their reward will be given to them later, all at once, in an explosion of exponential growth. The emotional discomfort you feel in the early years is the price of admission to a club that only a tiny fraction of the world will ever get to join. So, how do you handle this emotional toll? How do you resist the urge to quit when it feels so wrong? 6. The agony of the crowd. How social conformity kills wealth. Compounding is a lonely journey. It requires you to do something that is fundamentally antisocial. While your friends are getting new cars, new houses, and new gadgets, you are saving, investing, and living a quiet, boring life. This is the power of social proof, a mental bias that Munger warned about. We are wired to conform to the behavior of the crowd. When everyone around you is spending money, your brain screams at you that you are making a mistake by saving it. The agony of the first $100,000 isn't just about watching your own account. It's about watching everyone else's lives unfold on social media. It's the silent battle to not feel left out. But the people who win this game are the ones who understand that the crowd is almost always wrong. They understand that a truly free and wealthy life is not built on conformity, but on radical independence. They embrace the quietness and the perceived boring life, knowing that it is the most exciting path of all. So, what's the ultimate secret to winning this game? 7. The secret of the dumb decision. The power of envy. Munger believed that the single most destructive emotion is envy. He called it a poison that eats at your soul. In the context of the first $100,000, envy is the reason you quit. You see someone on Instagram with a brand new car and you think, why am I living like this? Why am I being so dumb? You try to get a quick win to catch up, and that's the moment you lose. The paradox here is that the smartest decision you can make in the first decade is to make what looks like a dumb decision to everyone else. It's the decision to not buy the new car, to not go on the lavish vacation, to not buy the hot new crypto everyone is talking about. It is the act of doing nothing. The courage to look stupid is your ultimate defense against envy. It's an act of defiance against social norms. The power of envy is the freedom to play your own game, to run your own race, and to win on your own terms. So, if it's a test of character, what's the real cost of failing it? 8. The unseen scars. The psychological damage of get rich quick. When people look at failed traders or get rich quick artists, they see the financial loss. But that's not the worst part. The biggest loss is the psychological damage. The person who tries to get rich quick and fails has not just lost money. They have lost something far more valuable: their patience. They have trained their brain to expect a high-risk, high-reward environment. They have normalized gambling and short-term thinking. This makes it almost impossible for them to ever return to the boring path of compounding. Their mind has been rewired to crave stimulation and instant gratification. They can no longer tolerate the agonizingly slow and quiet process of real wealth creation. The psychological scars are invisible, but they are permanent. They have lost the one skill that actually matters: the ability to endure. 9. The partnership of patience. What Munger and Buffett really taught us. Munger and Buffett's partnership was a living lesson in compounding. But it wasn't just compounding their money. It was compounding their patience, their wisdom, and their rationality. They didn't just invest together. They reinforced each other's virtues. When the world was panicking, one would remind the other of their core principles. They were each other's inner scorecard. The secret to their success wasn't just their individual genius. It was the power of their combined, compounded discipline. Munger himself would admit that Buffett was a better investor and he was a better filter for stupidity. They were a perfect symbiotic system. Buffett's trust allowed Munger to pursue his ideas without pressure, and Munger's skepticism and brutal honesty prevented Buffett from making mistakes. Their relationship was a compounding machine in itself. It's an example that true wisdom is a collaborative effort, and the best way to stay sane is to surround yourself with sanity. Their long, quiet partnership is proof that the most valuable thing you can find is not a brilliant investment, but a partner who helps you stay patient. Think of it like a two-person submarine crew. One person is the navigator, setting the course. The other is the depth gauge reader, warning of dangerous pressures. Their mutual trust and commitment to the same slow, methodical journey is what prevents the vessel from imploding. The world on the surface is frantic and chaotic, but inside, they are calm, rational, and operating in perfect sync. This is the model for a compounding life. It is an acknowledgement that you cannot win this game alone. 10. The ultimate edge. The asymmetry of a long timeline. The world is playing a game of speed, but you, the compounder, are playing a different game entirely. You have an asymmetric advantage, a long timeline. Most people are operating on a timeline of months or quarters. They are worried about the next bonus, the next promotion, the next quarterly earnings report. You, however, are playing a game of decades. While they are running a 100-meter dash, you are running an Ironman. Munger would say, the big money is not in the buying and selling, but in the waiting. This waiting is your ultimate weapon. It is the ability to sit on your hands while the entire market goes crazy. It is the wisdom to know that doing nothing is often the most powerful form of action. This patience is a skill. It is an act of defiance against a world that demands instant gratification. The person who understands the asymmetry of a long timeline is the person who will inevitably win. Think of it like a game of chess. Most players are only thinking 1 or 2 moves ahead. The master, however, is thinking 10 moves ahead, anticipating every countermove. In the world of wealth, the master is the long-term compounder. They are playing a different game, with a different set of rules. They are profiting from what Munger called temporal arbitrage, the exploitation of other people's short-term thinking and impatience. This long timeline is an unassailable advantage. It is something no money, no skill, and no technology can buy. It is the one asset that the market cannot take away from you. This is the ultimate form of power. 11. The philosophical conclusion. A life lived on the curve. The true secret of compounding isn't about money. It's about a life lived on the curve. A life that starts slowly, with hard work and little recognition, but grows with a quiet, unstoppable force. It's a life where you bet on your own discipline, not on a financial trend. A life where you find joy in the process, not just the result. The ultimate goal isn't just to be financially free. The ultimate goal is to live a life built on patience, rationality, and character, knowing that the wealth is simply an inevitable byproduct. Think about what truly compounds in your life. It isn't just your money, it's your knowledge, it's your relationships, it's your health. A life lived on the curve is one where you invest in yourself every single day. A little bit of exercise, a new book, a difficult conversation that strengthens a bond. These small, seemingly insignificant acts compound over time, and a decade from now, they will have created an explosion of wisdom, well-being, and love. The agony of the first $100,000 is simply the beginning of a lifelong lesson in patience. It's the moment you choose to stop trading short-term pleasure for long-term power. The discomfort you feel now is the price you pay for a freedom that almost no one will ever experience. It is the foundation of a truly well-lived life. The agony of the first $100,000 isn't a punishment, it's a gift. It's a test to see if you have the patience, the discipline, and the sanity to be a winner in this game. Compounding isn't just about returns on capital, it's about returns on character. The first decade weeds out all the people who are not psychologically equipped for true wealth. So, I ask you, when the agony hits, will you give in to the instant gratification that everyone else falls for? Or will you be one of the few who has the patience to survive the desert and claim the ultimate prize? If this video gave you a new perspective on the brutal truth of compounding, do me a favor. Hit that like button to show me you're ready for more wisdom, and subscribe now so you don't miss the next video from the Munger Almanac.